Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Anti-News Podcast. I'm your host, Katie Grasso, and thank you for tuning in. Today's date is April 19th, and as always, I've got 5 happy stories for you. First up, a couple adopts 7 siblings from foster care, a mechanic fixes a woman's wheelchair lift, and a stealing dog gets his forever home. After the music break, another dog is rescued from a river, and an organization that makes playgrounds from tires. There are many types of families out there, but the one thing that's the same for most of them is that they want to be with each other and to take care of one another too. A family doesn't have to be blood related, and can be just 2 people or dozens of them. Of course, the more people in a family, the more challenging things can be. But that didn't stop this couple from California from adopting 7 siblings who needed a new family. Adelino, Ruby, Alicia, Anthony, Gabriella, Leo, and Xander lost their parents in a rollover car crash. They had been in foster care for over a year when Pam Willis saw a Facebook post about the siblings, and right away felt a connection to them. She and her husband, Gary, had 5 adult children between the 2 of them, and had been fostering for years. But up to that point, they had never talked about adoption. She shared the article with him, and the 2 agreed that they wanted to adopt the 7 siblings. Despite there having been thousands of calls made asking about them, Pam and Gary were the one who ended up with the kids. For the first couple of months, the kids had a hard time relaxing and believing that they were really getting adopted, but eventually they realized that it wasn't a dream. I think that they didn't quite trust that we were real. Like maybe we were going to go away, Pam explained. I think it's so hard to trust when so much has been taken from you in life. Ruby didn't know how to be a kid. She had to be a mother figure at a very young age. Family is very important for everyone, no matter what stage of life you're at. Find someone who means something to you, whether that's a romantic partner or just a friend, and enjoy the bond that only you can form with them. Having a disability can make life much harder than it already is. For example, losing a limb means that you'll need a prosthetic, which can make moving around or grabbing things harder, while anxiety and depression make it more difficult to deal with people. Having a disability can make any problem harder to deal with, such as when the wheelchair lift in a woman's car broke down. Repairing things like that can be expensive, costing hundreds or thousands of dollars. Fortunately, a mechanic stepped forward and offered to do the service at a fraction of the cost. Linda Abrams, who was left paraplegic after an accident 20 years ago, was doing laps around the neighborhood in her wheelchair when she met Christian Barber, a mechanic. Barber works at Phantom Motor Works in North Smithfield, Rhode Island, so when the wheelchair lift in her truck broke yet again, she took it to him. I trusted him, and it's really hard to find a mechanic that you trust, she told WJAR, the NBC affiliate in Providence, Rhode Island. The lift in question had been poorly installed and had broken down several times in the past. The company that had made it was unresponsive to her calls, and so she turned to Barber for help. This type of repair can cost a lot of money, but Barber did it for just a fraction of the cost, despite the repair taking 6 weeks to complete. Oftentimes, doing something for much less than it would normally cost is seen as nothing but a loss for the person doing the work. However, value isn't something that can be determined simply by cost, but by the human aspect as well. Without trust, society just isn't possible, both on the large scale and on the small scale as well. Kind acts like this build trust, and that's worth more than any dollar amount. Growing up, many of us had a teddy bear or other stuffed toy that we'd sleep with at night. I did, and still do even now despite being an adult. It's comforting to have something to hold onto at night, even for animals as it would happen to be. Lots of dogs and some cats have a favorite toy that they like to sleep with, and this goes for homeless dogs too, as Sisu proves. In North Carolina, a stray dog kept sneaking into a Dollar General store to steal a stuffed purple unicorn toy. Sisu had tried to take it on 5 separate occasions, but the staff had always caught him before he could get away. The store called and said that they had a stray dog in the parking lot that kept coming into the store. Joe Newbern, head of County Animal Services Department, told the Clatchy News. He'd walk in, go to that unicorn, and try to get it. He did it 4 or 5 times before they locked the door and called us to come get him. Maybe he had a stuffed animal like that in his original home. I don't know, but he wanted that purple unicorn bad. Before Sisu was taken to the animal shelter, Samantha Lane, the animal control officer who was sent to pick him up, purchased the little purple unicorn for Sisu so that they could stay together. Once there, he was given his name and his story was posted on Facebook, where almost instantly the shelter was flooded with inquiries about adopting Sisu. While he has to wait out his stray hold, the shelter says that Sisu and his purple unicorn have a new home waiting for them once he served his sentence. Sisu persistently went after that one specific stuffed toy, and I think those of us who grew up with a stuffed toy of our own can understand. Even if someone were to put your childhood toy in a pile of identical-looking ones, you'd still be able to pick it out, as Sisu did with his purple unicorn. While it might not always make sense, humans and animals can develop emotional attachment to things that made us happy, even if it was something small. When it comes to things you want, it doesn't matter what it is, as long as it's something that makes you happy. Music is something that's always made me happy, so let's go to the music break. That was Flying High by Fredji. Now, on to the last two stories. Murphy's Law says that if something can go wrong, it will. Sometimes you see situations that make you wonder just what went wrong for someone to end up in the situation they're in. This was the case when a wildlife photographer spotted a dog riding down the Detroit River on an ice floe. With the poor pup so far from either side of the river, there wasn't much people could do despite their desire to save him. Fortunately, someone was up to the challenge of rescuing that dog from their precarious situation. Alonzo had been floating along the Detroit River on an ice floe for 4 days when he was finally spotted by a wildlife photographer taking photos on the Michigan side of the river. Even though it seemed like no one could help him, rescuers refused to give up. Despite all hope seeming lost, Jude Meade and his son, who own a marine construction company in Windsor, Ontario, set off in an airboat that was loaned to them by the BASF Corporation. With that, the two were able to safely make their way across the water and rescue Alonzo from the ice floe. The poor pooch was in rough shape when he was brought to the vet. Stress, frostbite, dehydration, and pancreatitis were his major issues, but he's made a full recovery since being put in veterinary care. Part of this was thanks to his fur coat being in such bad shape. I feel like what saved him out there is the fact that he wasn't groomed and his coat was pelted. Dr. Greer told the Detroit Free Press he had literally like a layer of insulation that protected him from the water and the ice, and it protected him from freezing to death. But he's a miracle. That's what his new name became, Miracle. There were many people who wanted to adopt Miracle, but when the man who had saved Miracle from the river stepped forward to adopt him, the shelter staff couldn't think of anyone better to take care of him. While Murphy's Law says that if something can go wrong, it will, it doesn't say that once something's gone wrong, it can never get better. While we may never know how Miracle got stuck on that ice floe in the first place, the important thing is that he got through to the other side of his bad situation. The same is true for anyone else going through something bad, that you do your best to get through to the other side. Don't be afraid to ask for help, because sometimes that's all the miracle you need. Tire swings are not only easy to make, they're also a fun addition to the playground. They're a good change from the normal variety of swings, as on a tire swing, you can go in multiple directions instead of just back and forth, and are a great way to recycle tires. In India, over 100 million tires are thrown out every year. Well, one woman has decided to combine work with play, and has taken old tires to turn them into playground equipment. The non-profit Anthill Creations, run by Pooja Ray, runs on the philosophy that play is a child's right. To that end, the organization has built 283 playgrounds to date, using almost nothing but painted tires. The playgrounds have swings, slides, seesaws, jungle gyms, and even tire sculptures of animals, cars, or buildings. All the tires are cleaned and checked for anything that might be dangerous to the kids, such as nails or glass. After they're painted, the tires have holes drilled into them so that rainwater can't collect in them. We live in a world where play, such an essential part of growing up, is now viewed as a luxury and even thought of as unnecessary, Rai told the Christian Science Monitor. As the country with the second largest population, with China being the first, India goes through a lot of tires, and has a lot of kids too. By recycling tires like this, Anthill Creation solves 3 issues at once by giving children much-needed playgrounds, teaching them about recycling, and reusing tires that otherwise would have just filled up landfills. The playgrounds go wherever they're wanted, from schools to refugee camps, and are given themes that the kids in those areas want. Small playgrounds can cost the organization up to $800, with larger ones costing 4 times that. Because India has legislated mandatory charity on corporations, Ant Hill Creations runs almost entirely on donations, so any help they can get is appreciated. If you would like to donate to them, you can go to anthillcreations.org and click on Donate, or click on the link in the description. Play is important not only for kids' health, but for their happiness too. And every child deserves the opportunity to play, no matter where they are or what their situation is. Here's today's advice. Always wash your fruits and vegetables before eating or cooking with them. Even if you grew them yourself, it's always a good idea to do so, just to make sure that there's nothing on them that you don't want. That's it for today, everyone. I hope you enjoyed it. We're halfway through April now, and after that it's May. May everything go well for all of you out there in the coming months. If you would like to support this podcast, you can find it on YouTube, Spotify, Google and Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and Spreaker. Links can be found in the description, and until next time, remember that there is still some good in the world, you just gotta look for it. Take care out there, everyone.